So when you're getting started, you want to fill your freelancer in on all of the details of the project. This is something that I made a ton of mistakes in the beginning because as entrepreneurs, we always have this vision in our heads about what we want done, and we have this cognitive bias where we think that other people can get it quickly. But a lot of times, especially if they come from countries where the English is less developed, you're going to want to make sure to really go into detail about every single aspect of the project. Over-communicate. Like as a rule, just over-communicate. Say a little more than you think is even necessary, just so you know for sure that they understand every aspect of what they're doing. Start at the very beginning and actually tell them how every step of what they're going to be doing fits in the bigger project, because then they'll have the right mindset going into it because they know how their work will be used, so they'll be able to tailor it in the best way. And then have them repeat the instructions that you give them to you. This is the most important step because they can say, okay, got it, but you don't know if they got it until they tell you what you told them in their own words, so you know for sure they understood it. And then you can train your employees. So if you're the CEO of your startup, you can train your employees to manage these freelancers. Because sometimes they have some questions here and there. You're only working on the highest level tasks possible for your company. So you can train people on your team to be the relationship manager with the freelancer and give them the goals and hold them accountable to hold the freelancer accountable to get your projects done.
So once you've decided you want to hire this freelancer and you've got the initial background information out of the way, you're going to start working on the project and getting, just starting to get rolling on the actual task that you want your freelancers to do. And one word that I would really express in the very beginning, micromanage. When you're first getting started, of course you're hiring this freelancer to save time, that way you don't need to work on a project. But put in an initial time investment to, in general, we like to get on Skype with the guy and say, all right, so let's say I'm having someone send emails for me. Say, okay, do this email and create a draft, and then I will literally, be there on Skype with him, looking at the draft he created, and then I say, okay, this is good, you can send it, do 5 more. And then I just started, at the very beginning, making sure everything is done perfectly. And it takes a little time, maybe half an hour, but the reason you want to make sure that the task is done exactly right is because, if you don't spend that half an hour making sure it's perfect on the first 5 or 6, then if your freelancer does a task 500 times and does it wrong, then you've wasted all that time and then they have to redo everything. So when you're getting started with a freelancer, really spend that time, even though you could be doing something else, just to really drill down and say, get even the most simple steps, because sometimes you can give instructions and they seem perfectly clear to you, but then you look and you find that your freelancer did 1 or 2 things differently that changed the entire project, but technically they followed your instructions, and so it's really good to make sure that they do a little bit, just with you, holding their hand through the process to make sure it's perfect. And then really important also is when you have the first few tasks, micromanage. But then what a lot of people do is they assume, okay, they know how to do this task, and then they assume that this freelancer will automatically know how to do other tasks in their business. And really important to, if you're giving your freelancer a new task, something that is different than you had them do before, once again, micromanage and make sure everything is done perfectly. And then, because if you assume they know how to do it, then you are very likely to run into that problem again where, whether it be because of an English, they didn't understand your directions perfectly, or any other reason, you can end up with them doing 500 of something in the wrong way. So make sure that before you get them started on a new task, you micromanage again and then have them do the steps in front of you to make sure they're doing it the right way.
So when something goes wrong, you want to put out that fire, get on Skype and resolve the issue. Don't be emailing or trying to chat, especially across time zones. That will not make the situation any better. You can actually consider firing the freelancer. This happens all the time with freelancers, so don't feel bad about like, oh my God, they're gonna be crushed, right? They have like hundreds of other people that are gonna give them jobs in the next week or 2. So like, don't worry about it. Feeling bad with firing them can actually leave you stuck with a bad freelancer. That's good for nobody. So there's so many high quality freelancers looking for work that it really is a buyer's market here. So if you fire them, don't worry about not finding another good one. When we post out jobs, we usually get dozens of responses within 24 hours. So you can shortlist people. It's really easy to just kind of pick and choose and look at the reviews and hire good freelancers very quickly. So yeah, with firing a freelancer, it's really important to interview new candidates before you even fire them. You don't want to fire someone and then be like, okay, fired them, now let's look for another one. Even right away when you get the thought of firing a freelancer, start putting the new job description out and start interviewing before you even fire them, so that right when you fire them, the other person is pretty much starting the project as they leave, seamlessly. Just be quick and get it over with when you fire them. Don't make it really drawn out and long. Just tell them why. And obviously have compassion and be human about it, but just have it be a quick conversation.
One of the big reasons why you might consider hiring a freelancer instead of just or hiring a team instead of a freelancer is it just comes down to simplicity of managing people. And one of the big reasons you might hire a team is, other than the obvious part where if one part of the project is, requires coding and requires a knowledge of programming, and then another part is just sending out emails, of course you want to hire a coder for the coding and then hire someone for a lower rate for sending emails. Other than that reason is just the fact that it's so much easier sometimes to, let's say you have a task where you need someone to collect information and then do something with that information. It just so much easier to hire one freelancer and give them the simple task of just collecting the information, and then hiring someone else and getting them to then implement whatever you wanted to do with that information. And it's just because in their minds they have one task they can follow, and then for them it's very unlikely that they'll get confused or do something wrong. And then this new person, whoever's doing the second part of the task, it's the same thing. It just keeps it very simple for this person. That way they never need to, they never get confused with the tasks, and instead of sending them a list of 10 things they need to do, just each person gets a list of 5, and it's just so much easier to manage that way. And yeah, as I said, it can be easier to give small parts to individuals. And another reason why it's really important to hire, could be really valuable to hire a team, is that you're not relying on any one person to do everything for your company. So, for example, sometimes freelancers get sick, or sometimes there are holidays in the Philippines that last for a couple days. And even, recently, there was a big hurricane in the Philippines, and a lot of freelancers there just couldn't talk to their employers for, I think, 3 or 4 days. And so if you have a team of people who can hop in for each other and say, okay, I can take this over for a couple days, then if there's a hurricane, you're not completely left without anyone being able to help you, which is really important.